Hey everybody, my name is Jesse, and I found this. This guy was out on the curb in Union City, California. I saw it there and I just had to have it because I really like old dressers. But this dresser was hiding some problems that I was not equipped for. Like, I don't really know how to build drawers, and this drawer is really messed up. It looks like somebody already tried to rebuild this drawer using thin plywood, and they did a pretty poor job. The front piece looks the same, but some of this needs to be changed up. And at this point already, I'm contemplating whether I should just give up on this whole project and throw it away. And maybe I can come up with some not so short shortcuts. But I really like these raised floral designs on the sides here. So, let's go for it. And I nicknamed this thing the Busted Drawers Dresser. You'll see why right here. The bottom is split, but also the side that holds the bottom in is broken apart right here. But we can save that nightmare for later. Let's get back to that plywood drawer. I've decided to keep it plywood, and I'm just going to replace that flimsy part with this scrap piece of plywood I had laying around. I just need to clean out these long staples. That is the price of free lumber. And the key to working with scrap wood like that is to be able to store it in a nice neat pile, which I sometimes do. When I tried opening this drawer earlier, I noticed it was really jammed. The bottom board stuck out too far, so I just need to trim it up so that it sits flush with the side of the drawer. And that should do it. So now that I'm done with this tool, I'm going to put it away. After I made that comment in my very first video, a handful of my friends texted me. They thought I was calling them out. And I didn't ask, they just confessed. So now I gotta sand up that piece that I just cut, but the sander won't work if it's not plugged in. Yeah, so I just need to remove all the splinters and make this look like it's not a 40-year-old piece of scrap wood, which it actually is. And now I'm gonna pre-drill some holes. I'm gonna use screws because I wasn't thinking. I know that screws won't work on the side of this drawer, but for some reason I tried that. They might hold the board in place really well, but they're gonna catch on the sides of the dresser. So eventually I figured it out and I replaced them with finishing nails. I wish I had used some wood glue. I think this was made with nails in the first place, and that's why they all came loose. But whatever, it's fixed for now. I need to patch up one of the legs on this dresser, so I need to make a little sliver from this piece of pallet wood, but it turned out to be the world's hardest piece of oak. I thought it was just going to break apart when I tapped it, but anyway. So I ended up getting a piece off there, and I had to sand it down to size and make it real smooth, and I had to cut it with the rustiest saw on earth. I should probably clean up that saw. I actually left it outside one night. I say not to leave your tools out, and I left that one out one time, and now it's ugly, so don't do that. So let's throw a little paint stripper on this floral part here, and then go inside and eat some lunch, and then I'll come out and scrape it up with a little wire brush. The wire brush did most of the work here. I just need to get it cleaned up enough to paint over. I like these old relief designs. They remind me of some old buildings in San Jose from when I was a kid. And by now that glue is dry, so I'm going to go ahead and put some sawdust and wood glue in the crevices here. It won't look perfect, but it'll be hard to notice. But ultimately it's an antique dresser. It's going to look pretty shabby. I'm just cleaning up the sides a little bit. I'm actually planning on painting these. Do a quick swap on the sandpaper, pow, and then continue sanding these flat areas. Now let's check out that leg that I repaired. I'm gonna have to do a lot of hand sanding on this thing because it's rounded and it has a lot of crevices. You may have heard me say this before, but I end up doing a lot of hand sanding in all of my projects, and I get really tired of it, and I don't know how else to fix these things. But eventually the paper gives up, so I take that as a sign to take a break from that. I'm using a nail to clean out this crevice here, and I'll use a sander to clean up the front of this drawer. And that little drawer that wasn't broken, I just need to move the bottom of it down like 1/8 of an inch. And I'll give it some finishing nails here and there to make it a little tighter. Boy, this dresser looked really good on the side of the road there, but it is full of little tiny problems. So I end up spending a lot of time barely fixing things or hiding problems. So yeah, you'll see some of my techniques for hiding blemishes later on in this video. And I really wish I had sanded the sides of this better. It ends up causing a problem later on. But for now, we're going to call that good enough and move on to the bigger drawers. So this one actually has the least amount of problems. I get this tape off in one try. That's a success there. Now, I've fixed up a lot of dressers in my day, but this dresser here really showed me how much I don't like drawers. It just exposes the skills that I don't have. And the wood is busted right here, and instead of like filling it in, I just smooth it over with the sandpaper. And this is the fourth and final drawer, and it's the most problematic. The folder name for this project is Busted Drawer Dresser, and it's because of this drawer right here. And I'm sure it would have been a lot easier if I just knew what I was doing. And while I was sanding, I found that the wood was split right here on the front of the drawer. I'm just going to push some wood glue into that and put a clamp on it. That's no big deal. But one of the sides of the drawer is really busted and the bottom is broken out as well. But I first thought it would be an easy fix if I could just remove the bottom in one piece. But I think one of the previous owners just put a bunch of wood glue in there. I couldn't get this thing shaken out with my chisel or the hammer. Like, I honestly tried to be careful for a while, and then it just broke more, and then that's when I decided to just tear it apart. It probably would have been more fun to just throw this thing overhand into the backyard. So I just break this wood apart, and it still won't come out of that groove there, like it's really glued in there. The chisels can't get it out, so then I have to use a saw to cut it out. But the only way to get my circular saw in there is to take the whole thing apart. I really don't want to do this, but I probably got to learn something new here today. It's just put together with finishing nails, so a few taps and it comes undone. But right here, the part that's broken breaks even more. So it's like sometimes when I fix things, they break a little bit more than before. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but we're just going to keep moving forward. The camera's on, so I don't want to look stupid in front of the camera. And it looks like the side that isn't broken was repaired before. It has this broken section that's held together with one tiny nail. I'm just going to put some wood glue in there and a clamp on that. I end up saying that a lot of times during this project. So yeah, you just want to overload that with glue so it's a little bit of squeeze out, and you wipe it up with your finger, and then you can just wipe it under the table so no one sees it. And for some reason, I'm going to glue up the part that broke. I mean, it's a little bit wavy and it matches, so I'll just glue it up like that. I won't cut any straight lines. And I'll use some oversized, super old clamps that my friend gave me. This wood must have been so brittle because there's a whole bunch of these little cracks I keep finding. So it's the same process. I put a little wedge in there, push the glue inside it, then I wipe it up and then clamp it. The damage I'm finding on this dresser is consistent with the fall down the stairs. We suspect foul play. So I have this scrap drawer that I was going to throw away. I'm going to use the bottom part of it for that little track that it has. It's pretty close to being the right thickness, so I just cut it down to size and I plan on gluing it into place. So this side of the drawer has a whole bunch of glued up spots now, and they seem to be pretty strong. I mean, the wood glue is stronger than the wood, I think. And now I'm just going to cut a freehand straight line across the bottom there so that I can match the other thing to it, kind of like that. But before I do that, I got to clean up all this glue. And I think there's one more split that I need to glue up before this thing is ready to be clamped. This is just some leftover piece from when I was repairing some giant armoire. I'm going to use this for the bottom of the drawer. And then I still need to cut out the wood that was glued into the track that's in the front board of the drawer. I just set the saw to cut really shallow. That was kind of tricky, but it worked. Yeah, sometimes you get lucky, you know. I think a normal person would have tried to just build a whole new drawer, but I end up trying to reuse all these old pieces and just take shortcuts that end up taking probably longer than it would if I just built a new drawer. But you know, I didn't plan this out. I thought I was fixing one little thing that became a bigger thing and a bigger thing, and it's like that slow boil. I'm being boiled. You guys are seeing me get boiled. And that piece I glued on is a little too thick, so I gotta just chisel it out a little bit. And while I got these pieces separate, I'm gonna go ahead and sand them up. This sander was a gift, those chisels were a gift, the dresser was free. That's how we do things on this channel. It's all just found material and some mostly free tools. It just cost me my time, which is kind of funny to think about. When I used to run an after-school program, there was this kid. I told her that I like to restore furniture as a hobby, and she immediately said that her dad doesn't have time for stuff like that. And yet I was the one watching his kid. My wife got me these little corner clamps. Let's try them out today. They don't lock in place. They just have these like medium strength springs. I'm going to use them as an extra set of hands here so that I can use my 2 real hands to tap some nails into this thing. And now we're just going to put back together this Frankenstein drawer. I would be lying if I didn't tell you guys that this was really hard to get into place. That little pop sound just wouldn't come. I tried this for minutes, and I cut it all out for the video's sake. It was one of those things where you get one side in and the other side pops out, and you just can't get both in at the same time. And now I'm just going to slide the back piece into place. I think I just need to get one side lined up, and then I can scoot the other side into place and get it nailed in. And then I wanted to fasten the bottom board to the back board, but I was pretty sure it's going to pop out, so I decided to put in these fathead screws to hold it in better. And now I think I'm done assembling this drawer. I can clean up the face of it. Gosh, what a journey this has been. We did a lot of repairs and we still have a long way to go. I'm just going to put these guys back in the garage where they were before. I need to go back to the drawer that wasn't broken and just clean up the sides a little bit. And I want to try a little experiment with this dresser. I've seen people paint cool patterns on the sides of the drawers, but I'm pretty sure that would just get scraped up right away. So we're going to try some stain. You know, these drawers have been repaired a few different times, so there's a lot of blemishes on different kinds of wood, like the plywood. So I'm just hoping the stain hides most of that and kind of looks cool. Hopefully there's like a cool factor. Like someone's going to see the side of this drawer as they open it and be like, that's a cool factor they put there. But like, spoiler alert, you know, I actually saw the finished product and it doesn't look that good. But I just wanted to try something new. I've never done this before. And sometimes you just got to try new things, you know? This was that piece that was all busted up. I wish I would have used like a black stain on this thing. That would have been an even cooler factor. And I think all the sides of these drawers are a little uneven. The drawers work fine, but the heights of the sides of the drawers are a little different. It's not enough to notice it if you're just using the dresser, but if you're repairing it, you can see it and it's pretty frustrating. But it's whatever, we're giving this dresser a second life, so we'll keep moving forward. So after all the cutting and gluing and sanding, I'm wiping up all the dust from these drawers. They all have different interiors, so I'm going to paint them a uniform color. I'm just using this light blue as like the first coat. Some people will use like a paper drawer liner, but I'm going to paint because I have a lot of cheap paint. And I think that like all the interiors of the drawers look different, so this will help them all to look uniform. And hopefully it'll help hide the fact that this drawer is just plywood. And this blue paint, I've been trying to get rid of it for a while, so this is just going to go down as a base coat. I'll put something else over it later on. And this dresser was just really beat up, so I'm trying to find different techniques to get it to be sellable. And I guess it's all in relation to where you started from. Like this dresser was really beat up. Some people that flip furniture, they start with stuff that's in really good condition in the first place. Not me though, I only start with garbage. Like last night, my daughter was asking me why we make a bigger deal for the kids' birthdays but not for the adults' birthdays. And while I was trying to tell her that it's because she's very precious and we want to treat her that way, she told me that it's because there's just not a big difference between 42 and 43 years old, like you've had so many birthdays already. So yeah, you know, it's all in relation to where you are at that moment, I guess. Yeah, right here I just made a little dowel to reinforce this leg. I'm just going to set that in with some glue and we'll get back to that later. But let's get back to sanding these legs. We want to get them down all the way to the wood. We'll give this dresser like a rustic farmhouse look, kind of a shabby chic, but that's not really in style anymore, but I still like it, so I'll lean that way a little bit sometimes. But yeah, sanding round legs with all these crevices is really difficult. And now I'm going to cut this insert down, and eventually I decide that this leg is sanded enough. And the back legs just have flat surfaces. I can use the orbital sander on those. So for this paint color, I just mixed like a dark beige and off-white together and it made this color. I think it looks really good on these detailed pieces here. Sometimes I really like doing bright colors and different odd colors, but Sometimes I just want a piece to sell, so I use something very neutral. And it's kind of funny because there's some folks online who say you shouldn't paint furniture at all, which makes me want to paint it even more. Like, I feel like those pieces are my rock star pieces. Like, there's boring furniture that my grandparents would buy, and then there's rock star furniture that I would put in my place. I don't even know if it really matters. I'm just taking trash furniture and then selling it to strangers. My biggest concerns are, can I do something creative, and can I do it for really cheap? Probably doing the project on the cheap is the biggest requirement for me. And the front faces of these two small drawers were pretty messed up, so I just needed to cover them up with paint. And I just do one coat on camera, but I do 2 coats every time just to make sure it's all solid. Yeah, that plywood one is really janky. And then I get the edges here, and I'm also going to paint the interior with the same color. The wood really drank up a lot of that light blue, and that's fine because now this off-white is just going to glide over that. Gosh, it's like this project is just held together with a bunch of wood glue and paint. But these drawers are looking a lot better than they were. They're coming out nice and clean, and now they actually open and close. Yeah, this dresser just had a lot of damage, and so it just kind of always gave me a weird vibe. Like it was a lot of work, and it didn't feel like I did my best. And eventually I stopped working on this, and then I sold it pretty quickly. But even the people that bought it had like a weird vibe. Every time I've sold a piece, the people want to talk about it and my process and all that stuff. And usually people compliment my work, but these people just didn't say anything. They just showed up, looked at it, gave me the money, and then left. It was awkward, but it's whatever. And right here I'm going to try to preserve the busted, aged look of these legs with this water-based polyurethane. And I got a brand new can because last time I dropped it, and I did it again on this dresser. In all these years I never dropped any kind of cans while I did furniture work, but here I did it at 2 dressers in a row. But there was just barely enough left over in the can for me to finish this project. Yeah, sometimes I like the preserved look of a washed out raw wood. I think it's a good look for this old beat up dresser. I'm also going to use this on the face of the big drawers. I wish they had better wood grain, but this is going to be good enough. And if you recall, I used dark stain on the sides of the drawers. And yeah, unfortunately I think it does clash with the face of these drawers a little bit, but it's probably better than the alternative, which was just leaving it the way it was. And yeah, I use this water-based polyurethane because it doesn't change the color that much of the wood or the paint, and it also seals things up so you can wipe off dust and whatnot. I think oil-based is a little more durable, but it changes the color a little bit. And the top of the dresser is another kind of wood. I really like the grain on this thing, but it is going to clash a little bit with the face of the drawers. But at this point in the process, I'm just going to keep going. It is fine by me if it looks a little bit off. I just got to sell it and move on to the next project. So I put this on, took a break, went inside, and came back out and put on the second coat. So this dresser only came with 4 drawer pulls or knobs, and I'm going to try to clean them up with a sander. And I brought in 4 other ones that are a different kind of wood, different kind of shape. I'm going to use those on the top drawers. Trying to remove whatever I had on there before, left little burn marks from the sander, so now I got to take all that down by hand with this piece of paper. Most people just buy new hardware. I mean, there's plenty of really good looking stuff out there, but I thought I would try to restore this stuff. You know, save a few dollars, save myself a trip to the store. And then I'm going to stain them with that same brown I used on the sides of the drawers. So they do match something, you know, and I really like the way that one came out. But unfortunately, I'm using 2 different kinds of woods here. Maybe I could have gone over the lighter ones with a second coat of this stain. I don't know, I didn't think to try that. Maybe they look similar enough if you just squint really hard. So I wiped those down pretty good, and I let them dry for a bit, and then it's time to attach them to the drawers. It's at the end of the day, the sun's getting low, and I'm just about done with this project. Usually this is my final step, but in this case I have something else I have to do and I didn't know it yet. And see here, I really like the look of these dark knobs. I wish I had got the other ones to be this dark. So the plywood drawer was a little stuck when I was trying to get it open, but now that I fixed it, it goes in smooth. And the drawer that wasn't broken is now giving me a hard time to get in. So I applied a little extra force, and then I found that it needs a stopper in the back. It goes in too deep. So I cut a little block of wood, and then I put some glue and clamp it in place. So now that drawer won't get pushed in that far anymore. And the next thing I gotta do is add some beeswax. The hope here is that it'll help this drawer slide easier. So that's this dresser. It was fraught with obstacles. I think it came out okay. I sold it, but it was quite an experience. In the end, the dresser functions. I think it looks pretty good, and it did sell. And I probably learned a few things about fixing drawers. So I hope you like this video. Hope you like the dresser. And thanks so much for watching.